Hi, everyone. Welcome to my video podcast called Marianne's House with myself, Marianne Goldweber. I am a spiritual teacher, the owner of a village personal and spiritual development, and I'm a professional medium. And I'm going to be talking to you guys tonight about fear, because God knows we got a lot of that going on. And we want to talk about the spiritual understanding of that so that we can navigate this changing world together. So, thanks for coming. I'm going to wait here for a second for everybody to get on. And I'm going to take a look at who's on here. Well, hi, Laura. So, thank you for joining me tonight. I may take a few call ins. We'll see if we have time for that. So, this should be an interesting dialogue that we're going to have. Yeah, we all need a little connection tonight, Laura, I think. Everybody's feeling a little isolated and alone. And I just want to make sure that we stay connected so that we don't feel like we're out here doing it by ourselves. But these are definitely challenging times. But it's all good, as we're going to talk about tonight. So I think we have like 17 people so far on. It's nice to see everybody. Hi, Kim. Tracy. Hi there. So, as I started off earlier, I wanted to talk a little bit about fear tonight from a spiritual perspective and how to navigate that better and give you guys some tricks and tools that are going to help you uh, stay connected and not wig out and freak out and all those things. So I have people on this that follow me that I have known through varying stages of my life. So whether that's for my early life, my um, my career life, my married life. I mean, people have known me throughout my whole journey. Some of those folks are still with me on here, and I'm so grateful for that. And then all my new friends that I've met along the way. And so back quite a long time ago, many many moons ago, um, as I was having my personal unraveling of the illusion of my life, I reached a place where I had to just take ownership for where I was at and how I got there, and I realized that I'd done a lot of things, and most of the decisions I made inadvertently were made through a process of fear, and uh, and so faith replaced that, and that's what I want to remind you guys of tonight is that faith isn't just what we profess. It's a connection to that divine source that is always loving, always guiding, and how to connect with that and not be so um, pushed around by this human world and all the chaos that we're experiencing right now. So finding peace amidst the chaos is what Buddha called enlightenment. True enlightenment, he said, was remaining peaceful amidst the chaos. And so learning how to have that level of faith that allows us to let go of these things in this world that we're not in control of, and to learn to control the things we actually do have control over that we avoid because they're difficult or painful or require effort. And so I just want to talk a little bit about that tonight with you guys. And if you have any questions, go ahead and just text them here, and I'll see them as they come up, and I'll address those as I can. So anyway, so yes, awakening is not always pleasant. And so when I first started doing this work and getting these communications, from my divine source, which is how I do the work I do as a medium, it was just me, myself, and I. Okay, I was in the middle of the shit show that I'd created, and nothing was working. None of the tricks and things that I used to avoid were working anymore, and I had to really take the opportunity to stop and look at how I got here. And so my faith is what saves my life, and knowing that we're all here for a higher diviner purpose is something that I help people with as they reach those awakenings in their life. So whether those awakenings occur because of a death of a person, or whether they are a death of a relationship, or some awakening to, you know, where your life comes unraveled because you can't control everything anymore, those are the times when people reach out to me. And the reason that I am able to help them through those processes is because I've done it. So, and I meet most of you guys in usually your most difficult moment. And it's such an honor to be able to do that. And the thing that I've learned to do over the last 30 years is I know that every person is having their experience for a reason, even though in this moment we don't know why these things are happening, that there is a higher divine reason. So our soul comes here not to suffer, but to learn. And it's kind of like stepping into an ongoing play, except they send you down here with no script, no place to stand. You don't know where you're at, and you kind of just bump along as you go. And so once we're seated in this human life, we're exposed to people and all kinds of things telling us who to be and how to live. And some people have wonderful teachers, and some people have wonderful families, and some people don't. Some people have traumatic, dysfunctional situations that they're born into, and so we learn from that family of origin. We learn from society. We learn from cultures. We learn from religions um, are always conditioning us to believe a certain thing or to see things a certain way. And when we hit these snags or bumps in the road where it challenges what we know, and it is really asking us to look for other ways and other directions to get where we're going, but we just keep going back to what we know and we just keep plugging along. And quite often we continue to create suffering, through fear. And so fear is a very important emotion. But the challenge is that at our time in the world, the things that we've been taught to fear are very illusionary. That they're not actually, like when we were Neanderthals, and there was a bear, okay, and it was going to eat you, and okay, that fight or flight instinct, that fear gets you to move. It rushes cortisol into your system, adrenaline into your system to get you to be able to run or leap or whatever you have to do to get out of harm's way. Well, over time, we've been not in the same situations where we have to worry about fight or flight, although some people in their early life have to do that. And this is why trauma is a powerful thing that I help people through from a spiritual perspective. And learning how to, create peace in your life so that you're not in traumatic situations, and that we can work through and heal that uh, that experience or those experiences that you had in order to find that your authentic center, your authentic peace, minus that conditioned, um, trauma. So what I'm here to talk about tonight is illusionary fear, which is really fascinating to me because um, I'm a very firm believer in our experiences are grooming us for greatness. Our experiences are great teachers. The challenge is most people don't stop and really take the time that goes into unraveling an experience that they had and how they got in it. What did you learn from it? And how do we release it or surrender it and move forward with that new understanding? Most people just keep plugging along and keep creating the same situations over and over and over and over and over again. And that will inevitably crash. That will inevitably stop working. And we get forced into stillness in order to take a look at where we're at and how we got here. So the thing that we're facing now is that most people have not had to really, um, you know, not really had to fight, and they don't necessarily have the tools to differentiate between actual fear and things we actually have control over, and that illusionary fear that goes on in our head when seeds are planted or it triggers a place that we haven't really finished. So so that's kind of what I want to talk about tonight, and so I'm going to take some questions and I'm going to continue on talking about that. Um, so I know you guys. Okay, I've met, and for those of you that I have not met, I would hope that eventually that you call me for a session, because sessions are so comprehensive because we get to really talk about what got you to call me, which is usually when you feel like you're out of control or don't have answers, and that you're looking for some kind of spiritual understanding. And so again, if I had not made peace with my experiences in my life, I would not have the tools of understanding and discernment and compassion that it takes for me to stand in your situation without allowing that to really affect me and to give you those tools to navigate that and to, give you that safe place of non-judgment in order to express yourself and be heard. Um, I do work in tandem with mental health professionals and physicians as well because we have to treat this holistically. So that takes time and it takes sometimes a team effort in order to get people the help that they need to unravel that stuff. So, and so this leads us to a lot of other conversations. So, as somebody in my early life, I was victimized uh, emotionally and physically. And I came to a place where I didn't really trust people, and especially people in authority, because there was no safe place for me to be. So no one understood, no one was compassionate, nobody intervened or tried to change it. And so, I just kept it in myself and just started doing what was best for me, and never really relied on other people for those things. So, thank God for the beautiful angels that showed up through my life who graced me with their compassion and their understanding. And it's because of them that I am who I am. And this is why we have a village, because, you know, we have these shared experiences. They may not be the same, but they all come from the same source, which is, trauma or cruelty or, something that makes you not feel safe. And when you're a kid, you can't control that. Now, I'm a 59-year-old woman, okay? I have a boatload of experiences that I have navigated through to a place of understanding. And so there came a point in my life where I ended up having to really reflect on my entire life from the spiritual perspective. It took me a year to really dig down and go through my life's experiences to that point and came to a place of forgiveness and of myself and others, of taking ownership for my ignorance and the things I did in my fear and need to control things. And then I just started putting everything into the divine source's hands when it was beyond my control. And so again, when I meet you guys, it's usually in a moment where that's where you're at. Now, we have thousands of awakenings throughout our lifetime. And it's not just these giant cataclysmic things. All these events happen in our life to push us in different directions, to make different choices, to learn from where we've been. The challenge with most people is that they don't stop and really reflect on where they've been, how they got here, who taught us this stupid shit, and how do we start finding our own truth and educating ourselves so that we can start living better, more peaceful lives. And that's where we're at in this point in our world. This is something that's been prophesied for a long time. Is this 10,000 year cycle ended in 2012, and we began the fifth world of peace. Well, this is what people think. Oh, peace. It's like sitting in the field full of daisies with the Dalai Lama. Okay, I wish it was that simple, but peace takes effort. Peace is takes effort, and chaos is easy. Those higher energies you have to reach for them, whereas lower energies just pull you down. And so somewhere between my divinity and my humanness is this balance that we find. And that's where we find our authentic selves. And that's where we make peace with all of our experiences. And this is where we start making this world a better place, because when I change me, it automatically changes everyone around me. And so I make better choices, different choices. I don't align with anybody or anything that brings chaos to my personal life. And which doesn't mean that I don't, hang out or know people who, are in painful or difficult situations. I do a lot of community outreach. I go into very difficult places, but I don't live there anymore. I have learned how to get out of that. Now, that's where, we go back and we help other people who want to awaken, who want help, how to navigate their way out of that into a life of abundance and peace. So, that's the work. So, yeah, so I want to talk about this illusionary fear. Oh my God, this is like challenging. It's very challenging. And not only are we feeling our own anxiety and fear, but what most people don't understand is that we all have this force field around us. And I'll have people call me going, "Oh, I'm an empath. I'm so sensitive to energy." Well, we all are. We're all empathic. That's what, allows us to feel other people's emotion or feel, those energies around us. And some people are just more sensitive than others, because some come by it honestly. And some people, that empathic ability is heightened because of trauma and lots of other things. So what I help people do is how to sometimes turn that off, or learn how to know what you're feeling and disown those other energies around us. So right now everybody's very vulnerable because we've all been knocked out of our illusion. You're working from home, your kids aren't in school, you're stuck in the house with your people or by yourself. And we don't have that people connection like we used to, or those distractions outside us, like, just going out and hanging out with friends, or so everybody's been kind of put in this strange forced time out, which is not a bad thing. It's I still can't see this as a bad thing. I can't believe that we've had to lose 200,000 people through death from this virus, um, in order to learn, and we've all been addicted to this distractions, these distractions. So what we're doing during this time is we're learning how to sit still, which for most people is just maddening. They don't know how to be still. The challenge for us is when we sit still, we start to think. And when we start to think, we start to feel. And so a lot of this forced stillness has forced people into this, process of remembering and releasing, and they don't know what to do or how to do that. So when we feel these chaotic energies outside us, or all this fear mongering that's being perpetrated at us, um, as a distraction, that is a ton of energy. And so none of us are really full enough to be able to realize that, is this my actual fear or anxiety, or is this coming from outside me, by virtue of the chaos that's going on outside in our world. And so that's why, having a session with me or going through the classes that I'm offering. Okay, I'm going to be offering some classes when it comes to care of empaths and, emotional release and, things like that, dream interpretation. All of those things are wonderful tools for self awareness so that you're not so vulnerable to these lower energies that are going on in our world. So a lot of the things that are going on in our world are incredibly important, very, very important, because we can't change what we can't acknowledge. This has been broken for a very long time. And the challenge is that we've been so distracted by having to make money and putting our kids in daycare, and we've lost that connection, a true connection to ourselves and each other, because of these distractions. And so we're all going through this decompressing process of like a death, where we're trying to assimilate all this new information into some kind of sense of normal. Okay, it's a process. It's not something you get over, it's something you get through. And again, what are we learning through all this? So that's what I would really like you guys to write down tonight is, and so what the first thing we want to do is we want to go to our fear. We can't we can't really give it a voice unless we know where it comes from. So what are we afraid of? You know, and once we address that fear, then we can see how maybe um unprepared we are, or lack of information, or lack of preparedness on some level. And I'm not saying like, survivalists where you go out and just, create a bunker and fill it with food and things like that. But what I'm saying is once we go to the fear, we find that it's not as scary as we think. And we have more choices than we think. And so once we go to that fear, we want to process our emotion about it. So I'm afraid because dot dot dot. I'm afraid because I'm afraid I'm not going to have enough money, or I'm afraid that, my people are going to die. Well, we're all going to die. The question is when. And, the chances of that happening to you is slim. But, when we go to that fear, what can we do? What do we actually have control over in that situation that we can do that is going to create some kind of a plan, or some type of conversation or situation where we can surrender, take control of what we can, and then the rest is not up to us. The rest is up to the divine source of your understanding, whatever label you want to put on that divinity, whether it's God or Jesus or creator or the universe, that there is a bigger thing at work here. And that's the challenge, is a lot of people don't have religion anymore, or they have you know a watered down version of what religion really is. And so when you create that spiritual connection for yourself, and you trust, you learn to trust that, that divine knowing, that makes all the difference. So imagine your worst situation that you faced in your life. Okay. And we are here now today, together. So you survived it. You survived it. And so what I want you guys to write down is, that day, that was the worst day. That was the worst day of your life. And I want you to write down, what did I learn from that? What could have been the bigger lesson for me in that experience, and what can I take away from that experience? And that is the stuff that makes us wise. That's the thing that makes us make better choices later, or not take situations for granted. And so those are sometimes the things I work through with people one on one, which is something, if that's something that you have not done and you want to do that, um, I'd be, happy to book your session. So just give me a call. My phone number is on my website, which is mariannegoldweber.com. So anxiety, I'm going to talk to Melissa Emmy here for a second. So anxiety is lack of control. And the challenge is when our fear creates anxiety, um, quite often that anxiety is an illusionary thing, that it's not something that we actually have control over. And so there's a lot of ways that we can shut down anxiety. Sometimes meditation, taking, and we talk about this all the time in here, is clearing your own energy first. So you guys should have a little list of things to do when I'm feeling anxious. And so the first thing I do is I go take a salt shower, and I just wash it off to make sure that this anxiety or this fear is really coming from me, or my situation, or my experience. So you take a table salt, you put it in your hand, you get wet in the shower, you pat the salt on yourself, and I say, This feeling is not mine, and I'm praying for whoever I picked this up from, but please take this from me. So I'm disowning this energy and I'm giving it to my guides. I'm giving it to the powers at large that can help people that are on this, okay? But it's not mine, so it's not even mine to feel. So I'm going to wash that off. So as you rinse off, you visualize all that negative energy going down the drain. Okay, that's the first thing you should do is get in a salt shower or even have a little spray bottle of salt water that you can mist yourself and do this on the fly, whether you're at work or in your car or whatever. So quite often when we're low and tired and we're not inspired and we're feeling some kind of way, when we bump into those lower energies, it's hard to differentiate which is which, who it belongs to. So the first thing I do when I get home is I take a salt shower and I wash off my day. Even if you wake up feeling like that, take a salt shower. I mean, salt can't hurt you, as long as you don't swallow it. And so once you wash off that energy, then you can sit and be still. And this is where I take that time to meditate or be still with me and the big guy, me and the other side. And so that's where I either write what I'm feeling and I burn it and I get down to that unemotional truth. And that's when that higher voice of knowing will come in and allay your fears. It's just funny. I was talking to Dawn, and I hope she's on here. But I was talking to Dawn and she said, I forgot to do that. I was so caught in my fear that I didn't stop and say, I'm going to let this go and let God have it because this is not mine. And so it brings this sense of peace will wash over you when you disown that energy and you trust that your divine source is on it. So if you guys remember your worst moment, those worst situations, and that we navigated through that. I mean in my world that makes you a badass. Surviving these life experiences is really where our pain becomes our purpose. And if we're still doing these same things over and over again, well, then that's the battle between your ego and the lesson. And then, we got to really talk about that. That's something, if we're still doing dumb shit at this point in our life, we really have to look at, what's the reason why we're doing that. So again, you guys are survivors. Okay. We've all survived awful things in our life. And so I want you all to stop right now and just say, I am a badass. I am a badass. I am a survivor. I am not a victim. I am a victor. Okay, those experiences are what make me great. The villains in my play are the reason I do this work. So how can I be angry with them because I chose them before we even got here? Would you please treat me like shit? Okay, Marianne, I'll do that, and then they did. And so again, people are always projecting their dysfunction on other people. So what I learned throughout all those times I've been victimized is that I was never really a victim. I was a target. It's hard not to take that personally, however, when it's being directed at you. But what I came to understand throughout this whole process is those experiences did not happen to me, they happened for me. And those people were broken and they just targeted me with their shit. And so now being an adult woman who can make her own money and pay her own bills and do all those things, I don't have to allow myself to be in those situations anymore. I choose better for myself because I deserve that and I love myself. And so boundaries are love, and learning how to say no to what is not good for us is powerful. So another thing about fear is, like I said, I utilize this letter writing process. So when you write these letters, to whoever or the cosmos, I mean, you can even write it to God himself. They know being human down here is hard. Dead people know it's not easy. So they don't take your emotion personally. You could tell them off and they don't care because they've seen the big picture. They know who they were. They know how they left it. So, whether it's talking to the other side or talking to living people, now, mind you, we don't ever really mail these letters. These are just your way of expressing your emotion and letting out that fear. And then when you get out the fear out, you go, oh, well, that's stupid. That sounds even stupider out loud. And you come to that higher voice will come in and say, well, there's really nothing to fear. So that's where we're at. Now, there are a lot of things going on in our world, and no matter what happens, all of these things have been happening for a great purpose. So if you guys could just stop over the next, I don't know, few days, a week, we've let a lot of things go in this world because we became complacent and we became, addicted to buying useless shit and working to buy more useless shit, and we became addicted to that. Okay. And now that we're sitting still, we've realized that we've let a lot of things happen while we were distracted. And so there's a lot of people that are angry right now. They're angry because they let it happen. They're angry, that this is going on. Well, it's always been going on. The problem is, I mean, some of us woke up a long time ago. And, this is not happening, is not new. It's been going on for a very long time. It's just that now it's come into your perception or it's affected you. So no matter what happens in our world right now, we are all being given an opportunity to be the change, to be more discerning about who we allow in our life, whether that's our personal life or whether that's our community or in our nation or globally, that we have to get accountable and be part of that ability to, um, discern leaders better. It's about character, it's about integrity, it's about, doing what's right for everybody. I am a leader and I can't just make a decision and how it affects me. Every decision I make affects somebody. And it's very important that leaders are open to understanding that whatever we're doing is going to affect a lot of people. And we have to go to all their perspectives in order to do what's best for the whole. And again, we haven't been very selective about who we put into places of power, whether that's in our personal life, our work, or our collective world. And we've allowed this. And again, ignorance breeds fear, and fear seeks to destroy. So what people don't understand, they're waking up very ignorant about a lot of things. And now I have to tell you, I'm a very self-aware person who researches things, who loves information. I love learning new things all the time. And I have to tell you that some of these things that we're experiencing now, I had so little, really, I had to admit how ignorant I was about a lot of how government works. and and I have to tell you, I've gotten a very eye-opening education about things. And again, our ignorance has allowed this to happen. You know, I know probably like you guys, I wasn't paying attention in history class. I wasn't paying attention when I was a kid, but I also didn't have anybody in my life who was helping me understand what I was learning. And this is why being home with your kids right now is such a powerful time because you're able to look at what they're learning. You're able to be an active participant in their education. And their education is not just academic at school. I mean, this is life. These are life experiences. And I don't know if you guys have had a chance to watch the video I did with my son Jared, but our entire life has been built on these teachable moments. Every experience we've had, every experience that my son's been present to, was an opportunity to dialogue about it. And so again, we are our children's teachers, and we've been so distracted with work and other things that we haven't really, taken the time to get invested in educating our kids, not just in the academia, but in life. And now we have this wonderful, beautiful opportunity to be taking them out in the world and showing them things and, introducing them to all different kinds of people and situations. And it's a powerful time of growth. We can either try to go back to sleep or we can awaken. And so everything that's happening in our world is very necessary. If we don't acknowledge what's broken, we're never going to be able to fix it. And, in any awakening, admitting that you're the problem, all we can do, people, is own our side of the road and release what is not ours. Okay. And so, no matter what happens in the next weeks to come, we need to make a solid commitment to simplify our lives and start getting involved in the things that are of interest to you. How can we leave this world better than we found it? What can I do to support people, and if you can't work with people directly, there are so many amazing grassroots efforts going on right now to help people. And you can always either support them financially or call them and ask them how you can serve. We don't have to be in, physical proximity with people to, drop off donations or do some kind of a drive of some kind, or just reaching out to, neighbors, or there's just a million ways that we can find to, be the change in this world. And so, it's very important that we all stop and really look at this, even though these things appear awful and it's forcing us out of our comfort zone of our illusion. This is a wonderful time for us to really get invested, not only in our own lives, but in other people's lives, and to get invested in our communities. This is so incredibly important because if we don't lead, someone will feel like they can. If you do not lead in your own life, somebody will notice that you don't know what you're doing and they will try to uh, oppress you or govern you. Okay. And if you don't want that to happen, then we need to get accountable to where we're at and what we're doing. So, the universe can't help us if we don't go first. And the best way to get rid of fear is through action. Anxiety is lack of control. So let's make a list of things we actually do have control over and let's get busy, because that's like clearing off the road to all this abundance and good things that are coming in this world. And the universe can't give us anything if we're scared and hiding in the corner in our bedroom. We are warriors and we are badasses. You guys didn't survive all these things in life just to be a sissy now. Okay. We really do know what we're doing, and the inmates are running the asylum, and we just have to all get accountable and really start supporting each other in our village. Now, my village is really not a physical thing. It is a physical thing when I have a space, but we are connected and bound by our experiences. We are all connected and bound by our faith. And we don't have to be together to do that. Every single human being is part of our village. Some people are still asleep. Some people are just awakening. Some people are finding out everything they believed was a total fucking lie, and they're mad. And I completely understand that. I'm not going to let them point their shit at me, but I am compassionate enough to understand that even when I was ignorant, the people were compassionate with me when I was, not, thought I knew it all. So, again, with every awakening comes destruction. And so these paradigms that are going on in our world are so important. And so many beautiful, amazing things are going to come out of this. But that's where we can only control what we can, and we have to surrender the rest to our divinity, to our God of our understanding. So this is where I work a lot in the recovery community, and this is where we read the serenity prayer. And so I would recommend that all of you guys go look it up, print it off, or write it down and stick it on your, bedside stand or mirror in the morning. And I want you to start your day with it, which is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That is a beautiful grounding prayer. And it reminds us that it takes courage to accept the things we cannot change, and it's wise when we can learn to let go of what is not ours to control, and so this is a wonderful prayer if you guys want to start your day with that. It always helps me focus on my to-do list, and I'll sit down and I'll create a to-do list. What do I have control over? And now I have the courage to go and actually execute that to-do list. And so, yes, there's a lot of distracting energy right now. If it's chaos, you guys need to just shut it off and don't look. If it's that disruptive to you, um, you know, one way or another, it's going to be over. And no matter what, we're going to still be here, and we're still going to be doing this work, and we're still going to be helping people, and we're all still going to be, trying to make this a better world. So, with or without, we're going to do it anyway, and we all got to stick together. That's how it works. So, let's take a look at our questions tonight. And I just want to say hello to everybody. Hi, Fawn, Jackie. Um, Yes. So, Melissa, in addition, Melissa's question is anxiety has been at its highest for me the last few nights, starting to ease a bit, but I need your message. Okay. So the message is that some of that energy is ours, some of that energy is the world at large and what's going on currently. And and sleep has been elusive because still we have 6 planets in a retrograde status, which means everything's in upheaval. Every planet's going backwards. So everything it governs is bringing all the crap to the surface. And which is great because nothing can stay hidden right now. I mean, people are telling on themselves. They can't lie if they were on fire. I mean, it's really kind of awesome to watch if you can just remain objective and watch the shit show. And people are telling on themselves. They're getting exposed. I mean, like I said, when you have a clean yard, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So I'm not wishing karma on anybody because karma's a bitch, and I've been the recipient of my own. And it's really a good thing to be able to, just remain peaceful amidst that. But this is very powerful stuff that has to happen. And so my fear, I don't want to interfere in that. But we also had a full moon on Saturday. Okay, so it was also Samhain, which is the changing of the seasons. The new year in our earth-based religions. So we had this full moon, which is kind of like throwing gasoline on a fire. It's a time of getting out and doing things and feeling excited. So I want you to change that word, Melissa, from anxious to excited. Okay. So what can we get excited about? Anxiety is fear and lack of control. Okay. And so what can we get excited about? What can we create? What can we do that has purpose, that is actually finishing something or creating something? This is a wonderful time for that. So yeah, hopefully that'll help you. So this is to Gia Lombardo. Do you find that sometimes irrational fears can be more powerful than actual fears? Yes. You know, and another challenge that we're facing now is isolation. And so when we're alone in our head, uh, things can get, fear can become very delusional very quickly. So your brain takes this fear and it starts to make things up. And this is why isolation is so awful because it can become delusionary very quickly. And so we do need each other. We need to have these conversations. Start picking up the phone and calling people. Maybe set up a once a night Zoom call with your friends. This is why I'm doing these things more often. In fact, I'm going to do it where we're more interactive because this is very one sided for me, sending, just telling you stuff and not necessarily hearing, us talk together. And again, in the days to come, it's going to get more challenging. We just have to get more creative. So if you're caught in your head, that is a very dangerous place to be. And that's why we need someone else. This is why a lot of people join support groups or 12-step meetings, because it gives you an opportunity to hear other perspectives and find that common thread. So yes, illusionary fear can become very factual, etc. So I hear that. Phobias. Oh, that's a whole nother convo, but yes. Well, phobias are unrealistic fears based in some kind of trauma. Okay. Like, I had somebody who was afraid of onions because when they were a kid, they choked on onions and they've never eaten them since and they're scared shitless of onions. And again, those aren't, they're usually phobias are based in some kind of trauma. So it just depends on what your phobia is. But they can also be unrealistic and very limiting. They can limit us from doing really cool things. Like, I love onions. How do you know if you're on the right spiritual path? I believe it's more of a connection that you feel inside. Absolutely, Annette. This is Annette Restivo. So, first of all, your spiritual path is a personal connection to whatever you got of your understanding. I mean, whatever label you want to put on that thing. Like I said, people are like, I want to know who my guides are, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the other side doesn't have names and all that. Okay, I only tell you these things from my perspective because I've built relationships with the things in the spiritual world that help me do this work. But we all have guides. We all have ancestors helping us. The challenge is that we don't get out of the way and we're trying to micromanage God's to-do list and avoiding our own, the things we really do have control over. So whatever connects you to that divinity, Annette, I would highly recommend that you just, read. Some people are into Buddhism. Some people are eclectic. Like for me, I practice more of a Native American religion. But again, I'm not Native American. I don't practice it probably in the purest form, as if it was part of my upbringing and culture. But I only do that for myself. I don't do that for other people. But I find comfort in knowing, understanding that particular spiritual path. So whether it's paganism, neo-paganism, Christianity, Muslim, whatever speaks to you, whatever connects you from here to there, that's between you and God, girl. And that's why I'm interfaith, because whatever you believe, whatever connects you from here to the light, and whatever label you put on that light, we're still talking about the same thing. Oh, Sierra. Yeah, I always say let go and let God. Yes, that is the hardest thing to do because we're so used to stress and anxiety, right? So imagine that we're really spiritual beings who are having a human experience. Okay. And so once we're down here in this human body, it's very heavy. It's very far disconnected from that feeling that comes when you're in that sacred space with the other side. It's very light, it's very peaceful. And that's why we can only do things like meditate, or sleep and go to dream time. All of those things are ways to get out of this very heavy human experience where there's time and rules and all of that to connect with that divinity. So whatever you can find to connect to, whether it's through guided meditations, dream time, there's a number of different ways to do that. Yes, Annette, I am a badass. I actually am a badass. I have no fear. I really don't. Laura, thank you. I had a close friend recently tell me horrific events that happened in her marriage to her children. So, Laura, from somebody who stands in people's tragedy and trauma every day, okay? I had channeled for 6 nuns one time, and they told this angel came through for this nun. And what he said to her was so profound because she actually applied this. So he told her, thank you for praying up and not at. And so when she prayed for people, she never prayed for them to um, be healed or not to die. Um, she would pray up for them to have courage, or she would pray up for them to have strength through their ordeal. Because the reason they're having this experience is actually between them and God. So it's not mine to interfere in. It's just mine to hold the energy while you have your experience and you find your way. Whether I can encourage you or support you, that's all I can do. But the every experience has lessons in it, Laura. Even if we've had crimes perpetrated against us, there's reasons for that because, as most of you guys realize, you didn't understand the purpose in the moment, but go 5 years in the future and then all of a sudden you're realizing that I've taken this tool out and handed it to another human being. Okay, that gives that purpose back, that experience, purpose. So, the things that we talk about in here, you know, the reason I understand is because I've done it. And I know that it's important for you to do it. And, while you're having your experience, I know that you're being divinely guided. I know that you're being helped. But this experience is one of the reasons why your soul came here. And, that's the challenge is that we have to trust that no matter what we're experiencing, we're here to learn from it. And whether it's good, bad, or otherwise, that there are powerful evolutionary things that go on in those experiences that if we don't learn from it, we'll continually repeat it. So, yes, I'm sorry that she and her children are having that awful experience, but, on some level, we have to come to a place of, uh, you know, getting out, removing ourselves from that, having the strength and courage. So, I'm sure you're supportive in that way, but it might be something you don't understand because you've never experienced that. Um, but her pain is very important, and being her friend and just listening is wonderful. So she'll find her way, and if I can be of service in any way, let me know. So that's the beauty of this work, is that I know so many people who do so many amazing things. We can offer so many different resources or connections to information. So whether it's mental health help or addiction recovery resources or medical, I mean, all those things I've been doing this work for 30 years. I know a lot of people, and that's where the village becomes a huge networking opportunity. So the more involved you are, we are connected to so much information and so many services and things that you can support and that will help others. So if I can help Laura and, help her through that experience on any level, just let me know. You guys, oh no, I am a badass. I scare my kid. It's so funny because, for people who've never taken serious risk or have never had like uber bad things happen. I mean, I've seen people die. I've been that phone call. I've, got woken up in the middle of the night to find out people died. I mean, all kinds of things. I've seen people die, all kinds of ways. And so I'm just telling you that there is nothing you can tell me or nothing that I have not seen or experienced firsthand that will shock me at this point in the game. Okay. And so when I take risk, it actually is very calculated based in the experiences I've had or the things I've done. So what looks risky to you is not risky to me. And again, all of those experiences have made me very wise and very pragmatic when it comes to, how I walk through this world. And so, like I said, I don't have a lot of fear about a lot of things. I mean, um, and so, I'm even good with my own death. I mean, not that I want to die tomorrow or anything, or I'm going to just jump, in front of a car, but I definitely don't limit myself. Fear is very limiting and it prevents us from doing really cool shit. And so I don't recommend anybody just run out and, take inordinate risk. But if you need a partner in crime and you want to try something new, give me a call. I'll be happy to do it with you. I'll do anything once. I've done a lot of things once. So anyway, yeah, switch it to excitement. Right. So instead of saying I'm anxious or I'm depressed, say I'm excited, and depression is really lack of action. Okay, and our brain gets addicted to that. Depression is when our illusion's been taken away, yeah, you get depressed because where you're at is sucky. But the next step should be creating some kind of an action plan that we can execute every single day that's going to help lift us and get us excited about creating new things in our life. I know, I'm so glad you can stay, Becky. All right, kids, does anybody have any questions that they want to call in? You're welcome to give me a call. Yeah, well, again, depression is, once you've been stripped from your illusion or things are just out of our control, we need a game plan. And sometimes we need somebody to help us get on this game plan of moving forward. Sometimes we need vitamins. My vitamin D was critically low. I also found out I was diabetic. I was 10 years diabetic without knowing it. And I was so exhausted that it started to affect my thinking. I felt like I was beating myself up about, why are you lazy? Why aren't you doing these things? Well, here I was fucking sick. I was really, really sick. Like I almost died. And again, there's so many things wrong in our world, whether it's in our medical community or, I was blown off by two endocrinologists who told me that I was 40, fat, and depressed. I'm like, and he wanted to give me antidepressants. I'm like, dude, I'm a motivational speaker. I do not get depressed. But it starts to, fuck with your head when you're, don't know what's wrong with you. And so, I had all these men blowing me off. And I finally found a doctor who listened to me, and he literally took one look at me and said, "You're diabetic." And it was shocking. And, but he took the, 15 minutes to listen to what I was talking about. And I'll be damned. My sugar was 400 that day. I don't know how the hell I was still alive. But yeah, that's exactly. So, sometimes we need something in depression to lift us out of that. And sometimes there are very, very solid reasons to be depressed. We had some kind of a loss, but, our brain is healing during those traumas, whether it's a death. We go into a depression, it shuts you down so that you can find a new normal while your brain is healing, while your body's healing. So depression is very dependent on situations and and causes, but it can have a lot to do with health. It can have a lot to do with vitamins. It can have a lot to do with being in shitty situations too long. And sometimes we just need a game plan, and we can't always do that by ourselves. So, mental health professionals, sometimes we do need some antidepressants to lift us out of that place so that we can find our feet. And so, all of those things are wonderful tools. So, if we can help, let me know. I know, right? I'm telling you, Christina, it's a flippin' miracle that this body still works. Like I said, I'm 59, okay? I never thought I'd live to be 45, 40. Like here I am, still working it. Oh my God. Yeah, so if you guys get a chance, in fact, Becky was just talking about it. I did an interview with my son Jared, and who's had the most amazing, weird, funny life, and so he gives a lot of advice about how to help your kids find their passion or find the thing they're interested in. And we had a very candid dialogue. It's a very long interview. We even talk about inspiration and creativity and music at the end. I know you're not a sissy. I know we all have our moments, honey. But, again, we don't live there anymore. Um, and I have to tell you, I know all of you and I know the things that you've been through. And I'm just telling you that you guys are amazing, and I wish you could see yourselves the way I see you sometimes, because I know that your soul did not come here to suffer. And we've been taught how to suffer by broken people. And so now that we're grown ass people, we need to align with people who are encouraging us and supporting us and helping us be our, best version and see your light. There's a million critics in this world. Um, and, you know, most of them have no idea what they're talking about. Christina, I've had a hard time grieving. Personal. Yeah. Well, the challenge is, Christina, is sometimes we go into these relationships with a need. And and I don't think we interview people long enough. Sexual relationships can be traumatic when they're over, because our souls remember being completely and utterly connected. Okay. And so when we're down here in these very separate bodies, the closest that we can get to another person's energy is through kissing or hugging or sex. Sex is a very intimate sharing of energy. And the challenge is that our need sometimes has us overlooking some character defects in other people. And our need is something that we need to, ask ourselves why we're doing what we're doing. And I know we all want that connection, but sometimes we need to fill ourselves up rather than just, getting involved in sexual relationships before we really get to know people. We don't interview well. We weren't taught how to date. And again, it's very challenging because we do have that, there has been this spiritual sharing of energy. And so once we have a sexual relationship with someone, it isn't just they don't like me or they don't love me. We're also grieving, and we have to disconnect that that energy. They believe that, we're psychically connected to somebody for a year, especially when we've shared energy through um, intercourse. So, yeah, so maybe that's something you and I can talk about. But again, maybe we need to look at who and what we're interviewing, and you know, maybe some of those things about why we're sometimes in these relationships if they're not necessarily the right thing. How long does it take us to figure that out? Are we filling our own needs, whether it's physical, emotional, sexual, or spiritual? Are we doing that for ourselves because we deserve that? And then, being selective about who we share that energy with, so yeah, I've had a lot of sex in my life for a lot of reasons, not all of them good. And I don't mean good reason. I mean good reasons, not good sex. None of that. Most of it was not good. So again, yeah. So I don't think as women we talk about those things enough. About our sexuality and those things. We just don't talk about it. And so I do have a women's circle that meets once a month. It's called a Village Moon Lodge. And if you guys wanted, yeah, right, Christina? I know, a year. So if you guys want to connect with a Village Moon Lodge, that's our monthly women's group that meets on the new moon every month, and we do that on the new moon. And so we've been meeting like down in the metro parks, socially distanced. We have a book that is all available on the Facebook page when you join. I'll approve you when you get in there. Um, yeah, so again, none of us have been taught by healthy women how to interview, how to date, how to, find quality partners. And frankly, I was not healthy enough to be in relationships, and I was just kind of latching on to whatever came along. And so anyway, yeah, we as women, we need to really get accountable to ourselves and be more selective about who we share our energies with. Okay, Josette, what are your thoughts on believing in a higher power but having a hard time labeling it as God? Right. Okay, so yeah, I had a very, very difficult time with the word God. And it was only because of my Catholic upbringing. Because I was taught that God was separate from me, that I needed this priest or this person to go in between me and God. I had to confess my sins or go into this, sacred place and vulnerable place to share with this person that I didn't like. These were not necessarily nice men. Uh, and then they would punish me by giving me penance and things to do. And so I had a very hard time with that fearful, vengeful God of Catholicism, that was so away from me, you know. And I knew inherently, I was a very, very spiritually connected kid. I didn't believe half of that stuff. And I would go toe to toe with priests over dogma. But anyway, so whatever the God of your understanding, whatever words you want to put on that divinity, I mean, you could call it Bob, it doesn't matter. Just know that there's something bigger than you at work, and you don't have to label it. I personally use the word creator, or universe, the universal, the source. I mean, I use a number of different words. I'm okay with the word God now. I don't mind the word God because it doesn't, for me, have this religious connotation anymore. So depending on what environment I'm in, but frankly, I don't use anything when I'm with myself and my divinity. Um, I don't label it. It's just something bigger than me that knows more than I do, who loves me and knows that I'm down here working it and I'm doing my best. And I can connect with that all the time, whether it's sitting still or through every person I meet. We're all a piece of God. And that's what's so interesting about words, like the word namaste, which is a Hindu greeting, actually. It just means hello in Hindi. And that's why Hindu people think it's funny that we walk around saying namaste to each other. We misappropriate other people's cultural shit. Anyway, um, and so the word namaste actually is a greeting that when we meet each other, that when you say namaste, that means I'm honoring the God light in you that exists in me also. So we're acknowledging each other in our divinity. It's like, oh, hey, traveler, down here working the road with me. Good luck on how that's going. So we're acknowledging that God light within each other. And so that's why a lot of people have adopted the word. But if you say namaste to, Hindu people, they just look at you like. So anyway, so just so so when we meet each other, that we greet each other in a way that is acknowledging that we're all sojourning. We're all sojourners on this road. We're all working an unknown path, and sometimes they come together and they collide, but we're all down here doing God's work. Even the villain in the play is doing God's work. If it's not for the villain in the play, other people wouldn't show up and rise and come to being leaders and to have courage. So all of those things are important. So I hope that cleared up for you a little bit, Josette. So yeah, don't yeah, it the that divine source doesn't care what you call it, just call it. And you don't have to call it, it's always helping you. You just don't like the help. Yeah, so that's kind of how we look at that. So anyway, I know, I went toe to toe with a priest one time about Jews going to heaven. Okay. So I was a huge I had this fascination with different religions. So I used to subscribe when I was like 10. I subscribed to an occult magazine, And every month, this magazine would come and would have all these different, it would have all kinds of occult related articles. So it would talk about Santeria, it would talk about voodoo, it would talk about Wicca, it would talk about Christianity, it would talk about, and all the historical origins of these things. And so I'm telling you, I was like almost knew too much. So when the priest was talking about in class at school about, the only people who are welcome in the kingdom of heaven are those that have, accepted Christ or blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, so I'm back there, my autistic self going, you know. And the priest is like, "Yes, Marianne." And I said, "Well, what about Jews?" I said, "Jesus was a Jew." He goes, "Oh no, they don't go to heaven." I said, "What?" I said, "What do you mean? You telling me that a rabbi, a man who's devoted his entire life to God, is not going to heaven?" He goes, "Oh no, 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 because he's not Catholic." I'm like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, right?" So anyway, so yeah, so that was my start. And then, as I was getting my ass beat to a pulp in the schoolyard, I was laying there one day and I'm thinking, where is Jesus? Like, I thought these people are supposed to be following Jesus. Where's Jesus? There's no Jesus here. And so very quickly I learned that, people preach one thing and then do another. And so this is where a lot of my dysfunctional issues started with control and things like that. So anyway, yeah, Jews don't go to heaven because they're not Catholic. So hey, whatever floats your boat. That's not for me. It might be for somebody, but that's just not for me. So anyway, if you guys get a chance, I want you to go on YouTube and I want you to look up Neil Donald Walsh. Neil Donald Walsh is one of my favorite spiritual teachers, and he wrote 3 books called The Conversations with God. And there's actually a movie on YouTube that you can look up that tells the story to his awakening. And that's what's funny when you look at all spiritual teachers, we all arrived at this by having our human illusion come crashing down. Okay. And again, we had, that destruction is what got us to wake up and realize we were the problem. And so Neil Donald Walsh had a movie done about the books he wrote, where he actually had a conversation with God for 3 years and wrote it all down. Well, so Neil Donald Walsh tells this story about being Catholic, and he's like a male version of me. He's hilarious, and I think I'm funny, but what do I know? But anyway, so Neil Donald Walsh tells the story about being Catholic, and so if any of you guys are recovering Catholics or just want a good laugh, look up Neil Donald Walsh Catholic and on YouTube, and you're gonna laugh. It's a great thing, So all paths lead up the mountain. The only one lost is the man running around the mountain telling everyone else he's on the wrong path. So just believe. It doesn't matter what label you put on it. Just know that there's something bigger than you at work here. And all of this dysfunction in our world is absolutely necessary and vital to our survival and awakening. Okay? And don't be afraid. Your soul chose this time to come here to help with that. And how can we ever know how to help other people if we don't learn it first or go first? Exactly, Christina. Exactly. And this is, we're all recovering, and so whether you work a 12-step, everybody should be on a 12-step program. It's amazing. Um, and spirituality is a 12-step program. It's the same 12 steps, but just in a different language. And so, the first step is admitting that your life sucks and it's your fault. Okay, second step is turning it over to something bigger than you. All of those things are part of what, awakening in general, just waking up to our divinity. We're choosing this human experience. And frankly, we've all made shitty choices. So it's only up from here, people. So, and if we get further together. So, I would get in so much trouble as a kid for questioning. I know, right? So my son went to Catholic school. Oh my God. And we had to unravel all this stuff. He goes, Mom, this is so not like how it goes. I go, it's okay. Just learn the rules so that you know how to break them. That's how we work. So anyway, so having faith every day is important regardless. So anyway, if you guys have any questions or there's something that you're facing that, again, everybody's personal illusions are coming crashing down. So a lot of people are getting divorced. A lot of people are finding out they hate their job. There's a lot, people are finding out their kids are brats. Well, okay, so, we're all awakening to our life and what it really is minus the distractions that we've been giving energy to. And now that these distractions aren't around anymore, we need a game plan. And we all need a game plan. We all need to stop, be still, trust that divine source, and start controlling what you actually have control over. And then go be of service. There's a million ways to be of service without actually connecting with people. If you guys need any ideas, don't hesitate to give me a call. I post this stuff all the time about places that you can donate to, people that you can help. And again, they always need things, and you're going to have to get off your ass and just start calling these places and saying, what can I do to help? I had one client who one time I said that, this pantry needed peanut butter and jelly. This woman got on her friends group and her early PTA group. Do you know those women collected 650 jars of peanut butter and 650 jars of jelly? Okay, that's one person. The power of one. And we can all be that one. We all can be that one. It's just that we got to step out of our comfort zone. We've got to step out of our own illusionary crap and notice where we're needed. And if you don't know where to go, call me, or but seek out your own knowing, educate yourselves. This is a wonderful time for us to learn about things that we had no idea about. God knows I knew very little about government. I know I could probably have a flipping degree. And during COVID, I'm living with two historians, ethno historians who are getting their PhDs. Talk about, having some, large convos at the dinner table. My niece and her boyfriend are ethno historians, and they're getting their PhDs and in early America, Native American studies, which is just amazing to me. And they're rewriting history, and history is being written right now. I mean, what a wonderful time to be a historian, and what a wonderful time, guys, to be the change. We have no reason to not be the change at this point. The inmates are running the asylum, and we can make a lot of um, wonderful things happen right now. We just gotta find our tribe and all get together and find ways to do that. So welcome to the village. Thanks for being part of my village, and hopefully I'm part of yours too. So thanks for tonight. If you guys have any questions, it's always best to call me on the telephone and book a session. It's worth it. It's over an hour. You get a game plan, you get tools, you get heard. I'll commiserate with you for a bit, and then we're going to, make a game plan, talk to your guides, find out what they've been trying to tell you, and who's helping you. And it's wonderful to get us through grief or any of the experiences that we've had and come to that higher spiritual understanding. So I'm so grateful for all of you. Guys, this is cool stuff. Don't be afraid. Just sit back and, like I said, people are coming unglued. It's amazing to watch the truth that's being revealed right now. And have faith. God's on this. The universe, be patient, because there's a lot going on behind the scenes that you're not aware of. We don't get to hear it all. And so I know that there's divinity all over this thing, and I am moving forward anyway. We're going to move forward into this world no matter what happens, okay? And we're going to do it together. And we got it. We got this. Ready? I am a badass. And we got this, okay? You guys rock. Well, thank you so much for tonight. And if you need anything else, don't hesitate and give me a call. 216-324-2657. I updated my website recently, so it's www.mariannegoldweber.com. And best to call me. I get too many text messages, and I look forward to seeing all of you. Take care. God bless. Creator bless. Universe bless. It's all good.